from the highest levels of truth. It's often difficult to communicate where one subjectively is. The mind is like a distant sound. One is vaguely, if at all, aware of it. Because they are simply aware of awareness itself, of existence as it is, now, all around. One is simply aware, quietly and blissfully, absorbing all sensory phenomena, where it all melts into the bliss of subjective stillness and abundance, energetically as one subjectively radiates the profundity of the life essence, source, the force of all of us. And as you give your attention, not willfully, but naturally, as you sit here humbly, as you simply give your attention to the collective whole of life, you're simply a humble vessel surrendered to this present moment, awaiting divine guidance and inspiration and revelation as the divine is revealed to your senses as you sit in the presence. And as you sit here like this, in stillness, there's a certain profoundness of inner experience. And it's often hard to describe this, to ascribe language to this. And thus, as I said in the beginning, it's often difficult to convey, to say, to describe, to explain the highest levels of truth. Because, again, it's beyond the mind. It's beyond thoughts and concepts. It's a simple, loving awareness that is aware of the profoundness of this presence in this moment. That is aware of the squirrel that is probably wondering what we're talking about right now. And stuff like this you can't plan. And I love it. And I love feeding the squirrel to give life to it. Take a piece of bread and put a little peanut butter on it and watch them feed on it, especially this time of year in upstate New York where it's cooler out, and simply observing the squirrels and wow, how resilient. A lot of people walking around all bundled up. These little squirrels and bunnies and little creatures running around. They don't need any outer clutter. It gives me great joy to keep a few cans of tuna fish in the car. Because If I'm driving around in the car, see a cat, I'll stop what I'm doing, and open that can of tuna fish, make eye contact with the cat, let him know, hey, I'm cool. You can feel the vibe. I got nothing to hide. I want to share with you. I want to give life to you. So once we establish that eye contact and that open connection, then usually, as I stand there in stillness, the cat feels the presence and thus feels safe. Because cats can be skittish, especially if they have negative past experience with a human being, but not all humans are functioning at the same level of vibration, of frequency. And so, when the cat feels that safety, usually it'll come to me, because I'll simply wait patiently. And if not, for some reason, I'll slowly walk towards the cat and offer the can of tuna fish to him. The squirrel, the life, gotta love it, right? Some things you can't plan for. I love it. And it gives me great joy to feed it. Whatever, the cat, the squirrel, and, set that can of tuna fish there and then go back to the car and simply watch the cat kind of look in my direction, almost as if confused, like, where did this angel come from and feed me randomly? And just to watch him eat, and especially the other day I was fasting and just feeding the cat, so much joy out of that. It's like I'm feeding myself. In fact, I got more joy out of it than sitting and eating myself, watching the cat eat, and who knows, it could have been that cat's breakfast. It was almost midnight, middle of the night, but this time of year, who knows? The cat might not eat all day. Might not have a home. Something to be grateful for. We all have clothes on our back. Most of us watching this have food in our stomach. All of our survival needs are met. When we see things in a proper context, a lot of humans on this very planet don't have the abundance that a lot of us take for granted on a daily basis. So when we live with a certain thankfulness and gratefulness and respect for our essence, our presence, which provides this for us, naturally, we're blessed energetically, abundantly, with that which is beyond, which is temporary. Beyond the comings and goings and seeming fluctuations. There's something within us that lives on after this body. Every single atom of this physicality goes back to the Mother Earth. But there's something that the Earth can't take from us. What is this essence? The essence of life, which is the presence, all outer instruments, scientific instruments, are extraneous to the essence of life, and thus they can't sufficiently measure it. Life in its purest essence is beyond physicality, and therefore it can't be measured scientifically. Because truth, the highest levels of truth, going back to the beginning of the video, are for one to confirm and validate within their own inner experience, not to accumulate information about it. And if one does learn and study about it, really they're studying about their own selves. Somebody else wanting to share that which was in their inner experience, to point that other person to do the 180-degree shift of their attention, to focus inwardly, to their own subjectivity, and fall in love with it. Because that is reality. All that appears, comes and goes, and ups and downs and cycles, that's wonderful. As long as we're aware, as long as we know. There's something that never goes. Something that always flows. Something that is always aware. That is beyond all cares. And just because it doesn't care doesn't mean it doesn't love. By not caring, I mean it's not attached to anything. Love is not an attachment. It's not an emotion. It's not a sentiment. There's not any person to structure it. To say, I love that and not this. As if there was a fundamental difference. Because when one is that lovingness, that radiance, they realize that that is them. The love with which they love is the love that they actually are. It's their identity. So there's no personality to say, I love this one and not that one, because they see everything as one. They don't just see it that way. And this is what I mean by the highest levels of truth are often difficult to convey. Because I'm simultaneously aware of what I say, which is changing. The words are seemingly changing, but I'm simultaneously aware of awareness, of that constant that never changes, as the words appear to be changing. And it may not seem logical. It may not appeal to somebody who says they're an intellectual. You want to understand that, yes, the intellectual faculty is an important part of the human experience, but there's something beyond this. What is the essence which allows us to think? It's only by the grace of the Lord. that we can even think of him, that we can even be aware of him, aware of the thought. But what is the source, the energy, that allows us to be aware of our thought process? We can give this a label: metacognition, an awareness of one's own thought process. But what is beyond this? What is beyond metacognition? What allows us to be aware of that word, that label? Attention. What is the source of this? What is the energy in back of this? When we identify with this, there's a continuous sense of permanence, even amidst seeming transience, and thus one's very existence is ever harmonious, as they radiate abundance, because they realize they are that radiance. The radiance that is changeless, that is the source of all appearance, and the bliss of our very existence, which is simultaneous. And this, really, this is the point. But if I sat here and simply stared at the camera, eyes open or closed, how long would it take for you to click off? Be honest. Hey, I'm being honest. If I was watching a video, somebody just looking at the camera, you know, it depends. I may stay. I may continue watching. Or I may click off quickly. It's all about one's frequency. But we don't want to judge a book by its cover. I think that's all. The life breath. The less breaths you ingest through your chest, per minute, we can label time. The slower your rate of breathing, the more profound your inner experience, the more you're closer to your true essence. Your depth of perception and awareness and attention. Just got a low battery notification. Hey, that rhymes. I'm glad it didn't cut off the video. Although, I was about to end it, and apparently there's something more that wants to be said. and it doesn't come from the head alone, because the brain and the heart are one. There is no separation. As man thinketh in his heart, so he is. I saw a guy do this before he ate recently. And I said, hey, this is being reflected in my 5 sensory reality. That's something that I do. And what you are will eventually manifest in the world. There's no way around it. And so, you simply sit or stand or whatever you're doing, you can be aware that you're the awareness. You're not the thoughts, you're not the action, but you're the awareness that's aware of everything. And when you give your attention to the collective whole of life, you get something back. You get joy. You don't get it. You realize it. You discover that it always is. That it's changeless. That joy is always with you. In any time where you seem not to feel joy, that's due to resistance. There's a resistance of that joy. There's clouds that need to be moved. Blockages. Artificial barriers. Subjective obstacles. Seeming obstacles that need to be transcended in order to realize that joy is every second, every split second, every microsecond. Not subject to time. It's so sublime. And so, now, I'm going to end this video.